So as UDA, the data has been given on 14 April. Some of us who are defending our seats, for example, myself defending the Senate seat, will be going to the nomination. But where situations consensus, then direct tickets has been issued. And I've seen also ODM, I saw yesterday or the other day, they were saying that most of the aspirants, their money has been refunded. So I don't know whether Senator Ledama, his nomination fees has been refunded, because I saw they were using what we call opinion polls to try and gauge who is a strong candidate and therefore through consensus. And it is, but that is also a threat to democracy, because when I saw the party leader of ODM issuing a direct ticket to Butere, is it Butere, member of parliament in Mwale in a rally, I thought there is a more neater way of doing such.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nama, from your side of things, are there direct tickets being issued?
I don't really think I should be the one to answer that question. I think that question should be answered by the National Election Board. But I think if you ask me generally what I think about nominations, then I'll be able to respond. Generally speaking, anything to do when it comes to party affairs, the party is best suited to be able to determine the best way to win an election. Because elections in some counties are won at the nomination stage. Elections in some counties are won based on the strategy that you put up place. Democracy is what dictates. If you ask me what is in our constitution as a party, we have different ways in which we can be able to put forward a candidate to be able to contest in any elective position.
Right.
One of them is, of course, through consensus. We also use scientific polls to be able to determine who is stronger than the other person. And these scientific polls are a little bit more extensive. They're not just as basic as if Smart versus Olekina, who has more people. In a contest, when you and I are in the same political party, and we have Senator Cherargei in a different political party, the best way for any political party to be able to carry out its nomination is to be able to weigh the candidates who have shown an interest in any particular seat vis-a-vis the opponents, but not the two candidates who are for the same party. I know in our political party we have, of course, some individuals who have been given direct tickets. The dynamics of this year's elections are very different, in the sense that if you look at our coalition partners, we have about, I think, 25 political parties that are supporting the Azimio movement. And of course, our main opponents, UDA. So we have to be guarded in terms of how we proceed with our nomination exercise, because we want to ensure that the candidates we put forward to contest in the upcoming general elections are candidates who will be able to assist us win more political seats.
The question then that comes about zoning, which has been mentioned by other political parties, and how then does that work in spaces like, say, Nairobi, for instance?
Okay.
How would that work?
I think, generally speaking, and I want to be, or maybe hypothetically, if you look at a situation like Nairobi, the first question to ask is, who has always won Nairobi? If it is a member of parliament for Embakasi East, who is the strongest candidate there? If you look at the person who has always won there, it's ODM. So I think in a more democratic space, you would consider to zone that area, but that would be one candidate for that particular movement. When we amended the Political Parties Bill, and we came up with the Political Parties Amendment Act, if you look at Section 2(1)(b), it clearly defines a coalition political party as a political party. So that means that in the next coming election, a coalition political party can appear in the ballot. Because the way it is right now, even though you're in a coalition, previously, if you're in a coalition, it is ODM which will appear, but not Azimio. But we've made room such that it can be possible for Azimio to be in the political party, even if you are the ODM candidate, and maybe you've chosen to zone out an area for Jubilee, then I think it will appear as Azimio.
All right.
Yes.
How does that work for you, for your side of the bargain?
I think, these political amendments will destroy big parties. Now, for example, as in Kenya Kwanza, is that one of the challenges, even as the signing of coalition agreements, is the zoning that we have agreed, and I agree with him that it will continue to be the biggest challenge to any political parties. What will happen is that these dominant political parties will have a smaller space to operate as opposed to smaller political parties who are under coalition, because it will something like a friendly fire. Because, for example, in Sierra today, I've seen new developments where you're having some aspirants have moved to UDM. ODM will have its own candidates. The tickets are being issued, for example. So at the end of the day, it will affect, and that is why you will have a mosaic representation at parliament, where you will have small parties are eating into the dominant
Isn't that
parties.
good for democracy, though?
It is good, but you know the problem at the end of the day, it is not as good as it should be, because now you will be having a conglomeration. And you know, I have argued before that when you look at Azimio, for example, which has over 25 small parties, they are a threat to democracy in the essence that SMART is that most of these parties have been formed as regional, tribal, and they have been done at State House. And that has been our contention. Where you remember DAPK, they were called, can you make a party, but make sure it is owned within Western Kenya. Another party, you have heard even the president has said Jubilee now is no longer a national party but a Mount Kenya party. So in other words, it reduces political parties from ideology to parties that are tribally or regionally patronage. And I think, and this can be blamed squarely on Azimio, because they are the generators of these small parties that are more tribal
But
and
you have
regional.
small parties as well in yours.
But that is why I'm saying for ANC and Ford Kenya are not
What is the measure?
small parties.
What is the measure of a big party versus a small party?
For example, a small party like DAPK in somewhere in Bungoma, where the MP decided and they are doing, even you know, when you want to know about small political party, is their main activities, they normally do it in, for example, in Bungoma, or even their political party headquarters is somewhere in a village somewhere. But what we are just saying, and I think that is what is important under political parties, is that it must adopt a national character. And that is the reason some of us oppose the political parties amendment. Because now parties will no longer be ideological. So if I think ODM is no longer popular in Western Kenya, I bring DAPK. But that DAPK is under ODM. But it is ODM in another color, and that is what my brother succeeded in doing by changing the law. But they will be the biggest casualties, because I suspect most of the seats, just like, for example, as I conclude, for example, in Kisumu County, somebody like Olako Oluwaj and Shakil Shabir were elected through independent tickets. You know why? Because now there was room on how you can exit from the hot political. So now what will happen in, for example, where ODM has enjoyed monopoly of seats, like, for example, Kisumu County, somebody will go to UDM, run because he's under Azimio, which means ODM will lose. And that is the argument we tried to put when we were discussing and debating the political parties. I know Ladama might not notice now, but also it helps, by the way, people like Ladama, for example, because I know, and I've said in the show somewhere, and I told somebody who is a good friend of mine, that the ODM ticket, maybe, for example, in Narok County for Senate, has gone to somebody. But now, courtesy of political amendments party,
How do you know that?
now I know, you know, some
How
of
do you
us,
know that,
smart, we are in politics, and some of us know what is happening. For example,
So you know more about what's happening in ODM than Ledama would know?
I'm giving you because all of us are political players.
Okay.
So, for example, the ODM ticket for Senate seat in Narok is already gone.
It's been given
So political parties amendment will allow, my brother, by the way, is a good brother of mine, we share a lot, will now allow him to move to UDM or any other political party that's under Azimio. And mark my words.
I did not know, Ledama, that your ticket has been given elsewhere.
Let's put it this way. You know, I don't believe in politics. I believe in facts. You know, we're in a political environment right now. My brother Cherargei is welcome to make any sort of accusations or whatever. ODM is a democratic party. And let me correct it. There's no one who has been given a ticket apart from the few people who were given direct tickets. We believe in nomination, and we have different ways in which we're going to carry nomination. I still believe, and I know this, I'm surprised that he knows more than I do, that even the gubernatorial seat, where we only have one candidate in Narok, he hasn't been given